Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew,
My name is Emily.
and we are back discussing the 2001 WB sitcom Raising Dad, starring, I'm sorry, what does Bob Saget want to be referred to as? It was a P. Diddy reference, which does not age well, but starring Bob Saget, Kat Dennings, actual talented people like Brie Larson and what's his name? The Jerry Adler.
Jerry Adler. He's very funny. Again,
Very funny, yes.
coming through.
Andy Kindler returns for a couple of scenes, which was nice. And in the biggest surprise, these two episodes, because we're doing these doubles, because Emily, I assume, knew that I would quit the podcast if I had to do this for 20 weeks or whatever it's going to be.
I gave you the option.
I made such a good choice. Or actually, I mean, well, whatever. Like I said, you're going to enjoy Miss Marvel in a couple seasons. Okay, so we are talking about episodes 5 and 6, which are
Ready for your right to party, and we'll always have Scrabble.
okay. And so the big surprise is Meagan Good returns to the show.
She is not on IMDb, but you can bet, folks, that she is in both of these episodes.
Is she in the second episode? They talk about her, and she goes over to her house, but I actually don't know if she appears.
I thought she was in it. I thought she was in both of them.
We will check. We will have Mr. Emily do some, as he edits the podcast live, he can go look it up for us. But our first episode, Fight for Your Right to Party, is about an older boy. Do we have a name on him? You're on mute, so.
His name is Dave Marks.
Dave Marks. What's the actor's name?
Michael Malata.
Okay, so he hasn't gone on to much.
No.
He could be the hero of every Hallmark movie. I wouldn't know. So, he is an older boy who is.
We for some reason he has not for some reason. I'm not disparaging her attractiveness, but he has eyes on Sarah.
And when we say he doesn't just have eyes, he has fucking plans within plans.
Yeah, he's because he's a senior, he knows the high school system and he knows how to do things. And he walks into her class where she's talking to Meagan Good, who's behind her. He walks in and Sarah's like, "Oh my God, it's Dave Marks. He's so hot." And there's like exchange with one of the dopey guy friends who's like, "You only think he's hot because he's a senior." And she's like, "I'm not that shallow. He's also just a babe." Like, whatever. It was weird and stupid. But high school, I wasn't much better. So he hands the teacher a note, the teacher who doesn't really have any lines, does he?
No, it's another black person without lines on this show, an unpaid extra.
Yeah. And then calls Sarah out to the hallway because she has to go see somebody.
Mr. Travers or Mr. No, it's
not Mr. Travers. Mr. Taylor
doesn't exist. And so
this teacher with no lines falls for this. Whatever.
Sorry, I would have assumed that he passed him a note that said, "I'm gonna fucking set this 15-year-old up, get her drunk and fuck her, dude. Can you hook me up?" And the teacher was like, "Yes, I can." I mean, sorry. It's reality we're dealing with, Emily, not La La Land.
Well, anyway, Sarah gleefully follows Dave out into the hallway, and Dave is like, "Hey, I'm Dave." And she's like, "I know." And they talk a little bit. He says that he thinks she's cute, and she giggles more. And then she's like, "I've got to go talk to Mr. So-and-so, whoever is she still doesn't understand that he has hoodwinked the teacher and her. And I don't know what they do. She doesn't go back to class. They don't
No,
go
they go
like,
get coffee.
oh, right. Oh, yes, because Mr. Taylor is the barista.
Yes. So we then roll the credits and we return, but we're at home now. And Grandpa and Brie Larson are working on their subplot for the episode, which is going to be Brie Larson trying to get into the Guinness Book of World Records for kids, and she's going to have a like power executive subplot that's cute and funny
Yeah,
enough. Like it's
yeah,
fine. It really clashes with what they don't really address what the actual fucking plot of the movie is. They sort of skirt over that in a very it is, yes, boys are rapists, but it's also your father is the only one who will protect you from those rapists, so you should always listen to him. um Even though the boy knows the father and was relying on the father co-signing on him pressuring the 15-year-old into sex. So
yeah.
they don't actually address that either. Well, the one fucking thing Bob Saget could do, he doesn't do, and punch this kid out or something like fucking
There
burying.
are a lot of problematic things.
Yes, I mean he does encourage other boys to go. I mean, yes, it is a wonderful. Yes, thank you, Emily, for finding us yet another good show all about the normalization of rape culture.
But okay, whatever. Let's keep going on plot by plot because there's some super problematic stuff at the end.
Yes.
Um, so there's a subplot where Emily is trying to get into the Book of World Records for kids, and Grandpa is going to fully support her endeavors. They talk about all sorts of like weird world records. But it's really like, I mean, it's really just kind of a cute way for her to be precocious,
Yep. And have a little subplot.
to have
Like,
a little subplot and have Grandpa doing a little bit more than just being Grandpa. Um, but the plot with Sarah, she has been invited to the senior blowout party, which is a tradition that happens every year. And she's super excited because she's just a sophomore and she got invited. So she asks her dad if she can go, and he's like, absolutely, you cannot go. This, there's like no discussion about it, which again, if he was being a good parent, it could be like, listen, this is what happens at these parties, and it's not something that you should be involved with. You will be uncomfortable, you will be pressured, and you should not have anything to do with this. You can go when you're a senior, which is not a good enough answer for her, but when she goes to school the next day, she's like, "Sorry, Dave, I can't go. My dad said I can't." And that's when we find out that he's like, "Oh, Mr. Stewart, he's so cool. I thought for sure he'd let you go." Um, but no, alack and alas. So I don't even remember what happens in this episode. I literally just watched it this morning, and I
so, uh,
until uh she sneaks out and goes to the party anyway. I don't remember anything between him saying no, her telling Dave that she can't
I
go,
mean,
and her sneaking out to go.
that's pretty much it. There's a scene where she talks to Meagan Good about it, but then Meagan Good comes over for the Friday night. They're gonna have pizza. Now, what's different about Meagan Good is that the friend they replaced Meagan Good with was, I mean, at least one character called her a slut to her face,
She
and everybody
seemed to
else
be
implied
more
it.
experienced. She
Yes.
even implied it.
So, for whatever reason, I was expecting Meagan Good to be pressuring Sarah too, but there's none of, I mean, she does encourage her to go to the party, but it's not like Sarah thinks she's in a PG plus movie or something. Is that her name,
Yeah,
Sarah?
Sarah.
She doesn't even think she's in a PG-13 movie. Like, it's very strange. Like, there's no, well, I mean, that first boy in the pilot who got replaced, he actually was, despite having describing his erotic fantasies in class, he was not a sexual predator.
Seemingly, yeah.
Whereas, right, whereas this guy's going to turn out to be a sexual predator after being a doting suitor for the episode.
I wouldn't say doting suitor. I think it's kind of creepy.
I mean, yes,
Continue.
doting, but he's grooming her, yes, but he's love bombing her. He's attention
The
to her.
fact that he just shows up out of nowhere and is like conniving, it's fucking creepy.
I mean, when you snuck Mr. Emily out of the retirement community for your first date, like he didn't even know where he was going.
Well,
Bada bing. Okay.
so anyway, Meagan Good comes over. They're going to watch movies. Dad has gone to buy them pizza. They go down to her basement bedroom, talk about how they wish they could go to the party. Then there's a knock, and we discover that there's a separate entrance to the basement, and it is our friend Dave.
Dave
Dave.
Marks.
Dave Marks.
Dave.
And he convinces her to go to the party.
And the setup for this is that the next time,
Dad said, yeah, Dad says, you can go next time.
Next time. And so Dave's like, I'm just going to ask you again. So it's the next time somebody asked. So what's never, like you said, there's no discussion about going to the party. There's also we don't know that he's saying you can go when you're a junior, right? Like it's okay for them to sexually prey on you when you're a junior. I'm just uncomfortable with it now.
Yeah.
But that does come up at one point that I think after the party, she's like, I can only be this cool once or something and go as a sophomore. So they run out. Bob Saget comes downstairs with the pizza. Does he, at this point, for Meagan Good's benefit, affect his...
No, he doesn't.
Okay, good. What scene in this does he do that? Because he does it in both episodes.
I know, and I don't remember what it is. Where he imitates Black popular culture in some way, shape, or form. And I don't remember exactly where it is. I found it less offensive than when he put on a quote unquote Black voice in a previous episode, but it's still not good. So Meagan Good is like, I don't know who Sarah is. What are you talking about? And they just kind of leave it at that.
We got a commercial. Ba-dum-bum.
And then Bob Saget is freaking out. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? He has been driving around looking for a party. And Grandpa's like, you got to chill out. He's trying to calm down Bob Saget. But Bob Saget is on a tear. And he's like, I've called her friends. The ones who have answered don't know where she is or don't know where this party is. And then we get a ring at the doorbell, and it's one of the dummies, right?
It's dummy, yeah.
It's the dumb boy, not the one who they continually make gay references about.
No, that is.
But it's the other
it's
one.
It's not crew cut dummy.
It's Evan. Is his name Evan? Maybe.
I call him Big Red, so that's probably better.
And Evan has run from his home because one, he's not allowed to use the phone after 10 p.m. So we've established it's a late night. Two, he's had to run because he's not allowed to drive at night.
Yes.
So this is where some alarm bells are going off for me, because Bob Saget not only invites this high school student into his home, but invites him into the kitchen alone. As a mandated reporter, I say this is inappropriate. Whatever.
I mean, kids don't go into any white male comedian's home without a support system. Just
as a rule.
As a rule, actually, let's just change this. Kids don't go into any man's kitchen. And probably, if there's anything seemingly shady where the woman who's inviting you into the kitchen seems like one of those women who kill the people on behalf of their men, be careful of that too.
I'm not
Stay
so
on a
worried about
stranger's house.
murder. I'm worried about the other.
Well, there is the other thing, but also it could be your teacher taking advantage of your intellectual inabilities for critical thinking and for like understanding consequences to actively bully you. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, the episode also could have been Big Red's dad coming over and beating the shit out of Bob Saget at the end, and I
Yes.
would have been fine.
So luckily, nothing bad happens. But Bob Saget is trying to get information from Evan, or whatever his name is. That's just what I'm going to call him, to figure out where Sarah is. And Evan is like, I cannot tell you. You are a teacher. You are a father. Double cannot tell you. Like,
I believe he says parent. I don't think he genders the parent.
well, yes. So then he's like, Bob Saget's like, fine, I'll just keep hunting for my daughter. And Evan's like, hey, by the way, can you give me a ride home? He's like, yeah, where do you live? And he's like, oh, it'll be easy because I'm right down the street from that big senior blowout party. Oops. Like the worst, most telegraphed joke in the whole thing. The big dum dum spoiled it. So then we cut to the party, and Sarah is there with Matt. She's got a drink, like I don't know if it's a literally a red Solo cup, but it's an alcoholic beverage. And she asks Matt, like, "Can I have something else to drink?" And then they go through this whole thing where it's like, "I just want a Coke with ice in a cup," but he keeps trying to get her to put some kind of alcohol in that drink. Where these kids got this alcohol, I have no idea. Doesn't matter. Because when he goes away to get her a drink, she is approached by the young man who is hosting this party, who is like TV drunk and is like, I've never seen you before. And like trying to grind on her, which was really gross. And she's like, I gotta go find my friend. And she leaves. Well, then Bob Saget comes in. More problematic. I mean, I guess in the end calls the police, right? Or presumably he's there when the police show up. But everybody there is like, "What? The teacher's here. Let's give him some drinks. Hey, blah, 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 blah." And he is trying to suss out, one, are there any adults here? Where are the adults? Where's my daughter? But they hand him two cups and somebody snaps a picture, which is it demonstrated by a flash, because nothing better than flash photography at a fucking teenage alcohol party. Which again, I was like, that's going to get him into trouble. Whatever. And then he's looking all around for his daughter, can't find her. We see Sarah and Dave. She's like, I really am not having a very good time. It's loud, it's obnoxious. And Dave's like, oh, let's go upstairs. She's like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, there's some empty rooms upstairs. Let's go up there. And she's like, you're taking me home now, which he's drinking, so that's not a good idea. So they leave. Well, the cut to the living room, I guess, is probably another commercial break, right?
Yeah.
And Grandpa's in the living room, and we skip the whole part about the little girl talking to the sink.
We'll recap Brie
Okay.
Larson's adorable subplot at the end.
So go in, and he's mad. Can't find Sarah. She's nowhere to be found. And Grandpa's like, chill. She's in the kitchen. She's here. He goes into the kitchen, sends Emily to bed, and is like, Sarah, you fucked up. You snuck out, you went to this party. And she's like, I know. And when things got too rough, I got home. Like, I left, which in the real world, very dangerous. You cannot trust that kid to take you home.
So this is a show from 2001. I'm sure that Beverly Hills 90210 did Jenny Garth gets raped in its first season or whatever. Like Jenny Garth gets assaulted by her college boyfriend who decides he's not taking no for an answer or something. Like
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
yeah, like it was like there were people the shade thrown at 90210, deserved and undeserved, but they did actually just say some things the way they were that we've been
Yeah.
dancing around in popular media forever. And I mean, it's just kind of like what basically happened was is white people just said, actually, no, it's okay if my son rapes somebody. His name's Brock Turner. Um, and they all are raising a bunch of little rapists. So yeah, I mean, like, I was expecting the other two boys at the party to figure in, because also when Bob Saget talks to them and they take the pictures with beers, he's like, don't fuck around with my kid. Go out and fuck around with some of those other fucking drunk girls.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah. It's
mine.
pretty bad. Yeah.
They're not my property. So there's that, and also the way we cut the scene when she tells Dave's not cool about leaving. Dave thought he was getting her drunk, and so they get home, they're in the kitchen, they're fighting about it, but she is trying to take responsibility, and he's just kind of like, that's not good enough, right? Like,
Right.
and then is that it?
And then she gets grounded for 3 weeks or whatever, go to bed.
Yeah.
Grandpa comes in.
Oh yeah.
They have a heartfelt conversation. Like, you've got this 15-year-old daughter who is, an independent young lady who has great critical thinking skills and decision making skills. Like, you should be proud. Yeah, she fucked up, but you should be proud that she realized that she fucked up and did what it took to get herself out of a tricky wicket. And then at some point, the little boy comes out of the thing.
That already had happened. Or no,
Okay.
you're right. No, she comes back down. Okay. So when we were talking about Brie Larson's like power executive subplot, that's because the guy in at Guinness Book of World Records UK was calling her,
Yeah.
and she was like working out a deal for what would qualify in a potential Guinness Book of World Records for kids, which at the
Right.
time did not exist, but I thought it did. It certainly did for a while. I don't know if it still does, but we then at some point I think when Meagan Good comes over before the party, we see Sarah talking to the sink, or not Sarah, Brie Larson, Academy Award winner Brie Larson talking to the sink. Um, I remember when she dissed fucking Casey Affleck to his fucking rapey face. God damn. Oh, fucking spit on the Oscar and hand it to him. Oh, that would be great. Okay. Um, so we discovered that her little friend who'd been in a previous episode or two had been hiding under the sink for an indeterminate period of time, but enough to take the record for longest time spent alone under the sink by a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then she's like, we've got sleeping bags in the living room. Let's go do this. And they go hang out in the living room.
ba-dum-bum.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, beep. Uh, Episode 6 has nothing to do with the previous episode, as sitcoms tend not to have arcs. It is, we'll always have Scrabble.
Yes.
And we open in the living room, I think, where Emily and Grandpa are hanging out. Oh no, the kitchen. It's the kitchen because Emily is making candy.
Yes.
Emily and Grandpa had gone to the library, and Emily found a book on making candy. Dad comes in with a brand new edition of Scrabble. What edition was it? The what edition? Do you remember?
I can't remember. Are you going for that he comes in scratching it like it's a DJ? He's a DJ and it's a record talking in Ebonics? Or are you referring to it being that spinny anniversary edition of Scrabble?
I think it's the first one that you had mentioned. It's like I think is it like the hip hop edition or something? I don't remember, but it's a new edition of Scrabble. He's very excited. I didn't realize that they had different editions of Scrabble
It's
besides.
no, it's not the he. That's the joke. That was his joke because it's spun. It's just the anniversary edition that
Oh,
spins. Jesus. No,
oh,
the
I'm really
show.
stupid.
The
I'm
show
really
wasn't being
stupid.
super racist. Bob Saget was like, I want to do this so fucking racist. It's my
I'm
base.
I'm stupid.
My
Okay.
base is actually racist racists. That's what I go
Uh,
for.
okay, I'm done. So anyway, he's got a new edition of Scrabble, very excited, explains to Grandpa that psychologists agree that game night, improves family communication and blah 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 blah.
Also, we get to discover the fucked up stakes of the episode too, because
So we it's revealed in this first scene that Emily is making candy because she wants to sell it to earn money to buy a new bike. But actually, that is a manipulation. She wanted to say that to her father and have her father feel so bad for her that he would just buy her the new bike. So we get kind of our first little daddy's little girl manipulating, trying to wrap him around her finger. Gross. Gross. And that's her little plot is that she's trying to get a new bike this whole episode.
yes,
Um,
and it will figure into multiple, or at least one other thing. So,
yeah.
but basically, the show does seem to tie Brie Larson and Jerry Adler's subplots together pretty thoroughly at this point, which is adorable because they're quite fun
Yes.
together. So
Agreed.
we then cut to game night, and there's some back and forth, some banter, and they're wondering where Sarah is. Well, Sarah is going out, missing family game night, as she's done for the last 3 weeks in a row. So we are 3 weeks into when this should be a fucking um episode or plot point. Now, so she leaves. He's pissy about it. What's kind of hilarious is he doesn't throw a shit fit, which is
No.
like very out of character for Bob Saget on this show. Like
Yeah.
he should have thrown a fucking tantrum. Like that's just like his bit. Okay. So then after she leaves, they play Scrabble and get bored or whatever? Like it's no fun without Sarah. Oh, and
I think
also,
they start playing. Oh no, they do play because he does the score.
yeah, but also we forgot. Grandpa cracks his tooth on some of the candy
Yes.
immediately.
Almost immediately, yes.
Okay.
So
So
so they play Scrabble. The end of the night, Bob Saget's got like 400 points. Emily has like 60 points.
yeah.
And Grandpa doesn't have any points because he keeps swapping out his tiles because he can't make words.
And so then what's her face gets home. Sarah gets home, and Bob
Oh,
Saget's
did we talk about why she wasn't there? Or is that what you're about to talk about?
did she go to get Limp Bizkit tickets? Oh yes.
She does that
Oh God,
before.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot. There's that whole subplot. So yes, the reason she's not going to game night is because of Limp Bizkit tickets that she's waiting in line for because like
She's not waiting in line. She has one of her
friends waiting in line
friends wait in line
later.
all
But
night.
no, they're doing shifts. Her shift is 6 to 10.
Oh, okay.
They say that. But also there's some comments about like how hot Fred Durst is, which I'm sure Emily was just like, ooh, ooh, I'm getting flashbacks.
I don't remember that. I don't
Uh,
remember that. I
you
don't
know that
remember
the
Fred
comments
Durst
are
being
like I
attractive.
put poo in my hair. Um,
No.
isn't that the Black Crows guy
No.
or Ashton Kutcher? I mean, it's somebody. Anyway, so then Bob Saget like confronts her at 10 o'clock to talk about why she doesn't want to play Scrabble. And she's just like, I'm just not into it anymore, Dad. And he's like, well, that really fucking sucks for me. And she's
Yeah.
just like, well, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And so she goes to bed. The next day at school, she talks to her friends about the tickets. So we don't find out who was there. So if the slots were 6 to 10, 10 to 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 10, Dummy Big Red was getting the 6 a.m. slot. Presumably, Meagan Good did not have the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. slot, but
Hopefully.
hopefully. But yeah, Crew Cut and Meagan Good also did their time. Then Big Red comes in and is like, wait, you wanted me to buy the tickets? You just told me you wanted me to stand in line. So um the show then does this really weird, like, I'm not going to draw any conclusions, Emily. I'm just going to observe it. Meagan Good's like, well, shit, now we got to get them from fucking scalpers. And Kat Dennings is like, not all of us can afford to get them from scalpers like you can, which is a vibe because in the previous episode, the little boy who was throwing the party and grinding on um,
Sarah.
Sarah was a black kid too. And
And
so,
he lived in a giant house.
yes.
That
And
that establishing shot, I was like, holy shit, that's a big house.
so we're living in this post Cosby show non-reality, right? Like we're sort of the politically correct, we can dislike snooty black people reality of the CW. I don't know, whatever. It's a bit of a vibe. It's weird. It's a weird vibe because now she can't go, Crew Cut can't go, and Big Red's like, fuck yeah, I got all their money. I'm gonna go get the ticket
Yeah.
from a scalper. And it's like, good dude, go ahead. Like,
Yeah.
they're not your friends, okay? Like, they're not your friends. Um, when you kill that girl on the riverside someday in River's Edge Part 2, the CW. um, so we then get this is Kindler's first scene where he's just like trying to sleep, and Bob Saget
No,
wakes
we're not there yet.
where
Because Saget buys tickets and presents them to Sarah. Like, we get to go to this thing.
no, not yet. You're
Not
ahead.
yet?
You're ahead. No, they go in and talk, and no, I'm also ahead. This they're having lunch together,
Yeah, they're having lunch together.
and they discuss. I don't know. It's the bit where it seems like Saget's gonna step on Kindler, but then Kindler gets his thing. I don't know what they talked about.
I don't
Something
remember either.
something about some parenting thing. Anyway, which would make no sense because Kindler doesn't have kids in the show.
Or it hasn't been indicated. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but then they go home, he talks to dad. And so he basically takes the wrong lessons from everybody he consults because finally, after Brie Larson and Kat Dennings have a scene together.
That's a cute scene. So Emily is like, Sarah, I really miss you
Oh, yeah, that's
at
right.
Scrabble night. You know, you're the only one who helps me cheat, essentially. Like, you
Yeah.
sneak me letters, and it's, like, it helps me with my score. It's this really sweet scene.
Yeah.
And she's not, as somebody who has not a great relationship with their older sibling, it's very nice to see when they get along.
Yes. And then we find out that the real reason she was doing it was because she wanted to, if she was like, if I get Sarah back to Scrabble, will you get me a bike, Dad? And
Yeah.
he's like, no. And she's like, well, you fucking suck, don't you then? You're never gonna have an Oscar, are you, Bob Saget? It was really prescient. Really prescient. Just like, and all your bits are gonna age like hell. And Emily's not gonna be able to really actually defend you. So then Bob Saget,
It's not my job to defend men. So fuck you for making that assumption.
ah, I thought you just liked Bob Saget. Okay. So do not look at the clock like that. That's so rude.
I
Wow.
can look up here.
I know. I know. You're making it right. I know. You're making sure I can see it. Okay, so then Bob Saget comes down and he's like, "Hey, kid," because he's trying to find something to do with her. He's trying to find like some other
Yeah.
way
I
that they
don't
can spend time together.
And I don't remember exactly what it is, but isn't Grandpa in the room at this time too with the
No, not
owie?
yet.
Okay.
No, no, that's
That's He comes back with the tickets maybe, and then I don't whatever.
I'll have to find out.
Continue.
But he busts out the Limp Bizkit tickets, and she's like, Limp Bizkit, row 13. And she's like, Dad, you do love me. And he's like, we're going to have a great fucking time. Fred Durst, am I right? And she's like, I don't want to go. Like, oh, it's going to be great. And they have a hug where she looks terrified and mortified. And then we kick off this incredibly weird fucking, like, I don't want to hurt my dad's feelings subplot for a second, because Saget's subplot is he's convinced the kid doesn't love him anymore or something. And it's just kind of
Yeah.
like, I mean, no, she just doesn't like you. Like, I mean,
So this episode, I mean, all of them really, but these two episodes that we're talking about today, it really, like, not having, again, it's not a woman's job to be able to do this, but not having a mother figure, because they were the product of a mother and a father, to like counterbalance his Bob Saget's like weird overprotective tendencies. Like, it's not even commented upon.
no, they've forgotten the mother existed at this point.
The
Like,
because I was thinking it while you were talking about the scene where he goes in to find the daughter at the party. I'm thinking about it now. Like, mom, like in a family sitcom where the mom was there would be a very poignant conversation between mom and dad, who were high school sweethearts. And don't you remember that time you invited me to a party? Da, 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 da. Don't you remember the time that, we wanted to go to a concert together and your dad bought you tickets and you had to go with your dad? Don't you remember that? Like, there would be this poignant reminder that teenagers, boy or girl, are little humans and they are learning about the world still. Their brains are still a little bit mushy and squishy, but they're still, neurons are firing and they're still making connections. So, like, there would be that reminder. And in this, I suppose we're like these life lessons with the grandfather and the dad, but they're not as poignant because neither one of them is a woman with a woman's experience in the world. So it's very, very weird to me.
and they also, the lesson always comes too late, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
this is always about Bob Saget learning his lesson,
It's
but
it's it's Jerry Adler. It's weird because it's Jerry Adler as the father letting his adult son like make mistakes and come to his own conclusions.
yes, but he never
But
does. He has
he's not but he's never but Bob Saget's never letting his daughters do that, or his oldest daughter. He's never letting her do that. He's got to force the issue. So this is like this stunted adult doing what he should be letting his teenager do. It's like very misplaced.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
It's
I got off on a tangent there.
It's all good. I did too a couple times this episode, as you might recall,
Yeah.
before you started yelling at me and looking at your watches. Yep, there you go. Okay, so then she goes in and tells Saget that they're at school. His class, so this is hilarious. I'm pretty sure they only actually have that one classroom set anymore, because his classroom is now a redress of study hall from last
Yeah.
episode, which was a redress of his new classroom from the episode before that.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's the sex ed classroom from
from the first one, from back when Patrick Brewster was on the show, and we thought we still had hopes and dreams. So she goes in, tells him she's got a math test, she can't go to the concert. He then has a whole scene with Kindler where Kindler's too sleepy because his wife. Oh
no, we have to talk about this. So he's in the teacher's lounge. He's laying on a couch. Bob Saget comes in, and Kindler's like, "Nope, I'm taking a nap. I'm really trying to get some shut eye. Boy, oh boy, am I sleepy." And he's really pushing the issue, like trying to get Saget to get off of his high horse for a second, stop thinking about just yourself and start thinking about your colleague. Well, it's nothing professional, don't worry. He's tired. Finally, Saget asks, like, why are you so sleepy? And Andy Kindler sits right up and he's like, my wife can't get enough of me. And he just like goes on this very Andy Kindler tear about how hot and bothered his wife gets morning, noon, and night. You know, sometimes he has to go home on his lunch break because she just cannot get enough of him. And boy, oh boy, is he tired. So disgusting. So disgusting. Does Bob Saget even? Oh, yeah. So then Bob Saget's like, oh, that's gross. Cool. I'm barely able to keep my food down. Can you go easy on my daughter with her test tomorrow? Can you give her an extension? And he's like, what test? I don't have a test for my kids tomorrow. My wife is spending all day at the gym. I'm going to be in no shape tomorrow to be giving out any tests. So disgusting, but a very hilarious way for Bob Saget to realize that his daughter has lied to him.
So he then goes home, talks to dad, who has used up all the ice in the house and is not working, is he refuses to go to the dentist. He's got peas on his lip now, or his cheek. The scene is interrupted by Brie Larson screaming out in pain, scampering down the stairs. She has just cracked her teeth. Now, and so Jerry Adler will then run her to the dentist immediately. Before this, he and Saget have a little heart to heart where he's like, remember those guys you liked in high school, the Doors? And he was like, yes. And he's like, what would you have done if when you were 15 in the year 1971? And I was like, hey, I've got us 2 tickets to go see the Doors tonight. We better fucking go because this is the last chance you'll have to see them before Jim Morrison dies because you weren't a fucking Doors fan in high school, Bob Saget. You just weren't. Sure. And Bob Saget's like, I would have been like, fuck, man, you old piece of shit. And he's like, right. How old's your kid? And he's like, oh, they want to go with me because I'm an old guy and I'm not cool. Ooh. And then enter Brie Larson, the cracked tooth. They go, scene cuts to the dentist office where return of
Brent Stoller. I was so excited. I didn't realize he was going to be back so
I
soon.
didn't realize there was going to be continuity between
I know.
Next episode will be about how
I had completely forgotten that he was introduced in the Writers Club episode as a dentist.
Now what's unfortunate, however, though, is yes, they had that. Dad establishes earlier that he was trying to score at the library and he struck out.
Oh yeah, Grandpa.
So presumably Grandpa. When I say dad, I mean real dad, not Bob Saget. So Bob Saget's just the face of when Disney was racist. I'm sorry, okay? Like, I'm sorry. When Disney was, outwardly supporting structural racism more, okay? It just triggers me. I'm sorry. It bothers me. It really just bothers me. So I just had to look at his picture to look up how old he was to do the math on the Doors thing, and it just
Gotcha. They're at the dentist office.
Thank you.
It's a bait and switch. Brie Larson, Emily says, aha, my tooth doesn't hurt. Your tooth does. I called the doctor and he's gonna operate on your tooth. And Fred Stoller's got some funny lines that I kind of forget now, but it's all in the delivery, folks.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. And then cut back to the house.
Yep.
And Dad has learned his lesson and he gives Sarah the tickets.
Dad has learned his lesson, minus he lets her believe that he lets her fake study for the test for a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So she does a whole like going from either being on the phone again or like reading a magazine to going and fake studying. And then yes, he reveals the tickets and he's just like, can we just play Scrabble again sometime? And she's just like, fine, we can play Scrabble again. And he's like, okay, but not
just not when I'm busy. Like, just not when I'm busy.
Yeah. And he's like, but we can't do it tonight. And he's like, can't do it tonight because you're busy studying. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not. He's like, no, but you are going to Limp Bizkit with a friend. And he gives her the tickets and cut. We then cut to them playing Scrabble. Now,
There's a prolonged scene of the three others, Sarah, Grandpa, and Emily, passing tiles back and forth to one another in a very obvious way. Very obviously, like, oh boy, if I had the letter X, I would be able to spell this word.
mm,
And then, you know, a letter goes around the table. And then, boy, if I had these two letters, I could play it off your letter X. And then more tiles. Very prolonged. And the meantime, Bob Saget is just sitting there looking down at the score sheet, maybe writing the scores. I don't know. And then he looks up and he's like, you all are just cheating the whole time. You're just cheating the whole time. And Sarah's like, well, you give yourself 10 extra points for every word. And he's like,
he's like,
oh,
yeah, I do. Like,
I am a cheater. I am a cheater, cheater, cheater. I love cheating at card games and I love it. I love it. I love winning. But I don't play board games or card games very often. And when I do, it's like Trivial Pursuit, and I will never beat my husband at Trivial Pursuit ever. He won't play me in Scrabble, but I don't cheat at Scrabble. But like when you're playing against your family and it's supposed to be like, oh, like this communication building, like why the fuck would you cheat?
yeah, he just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he just kind of sucks. Like, that's kind of my point, is that he kind of sucks. Like, we're not even raising dad at this point. Like, the lessons he's learning are like the stakes of the show have gotten so milk toast in our last two episodes that, like, the first episode they appeared to be having money problems and there was a dead mom, right? Second
Yeah.
episode, the money problems were gone, but there was still a dead mom. Third episode, money problems are gone, so's dead mom. She still exists for Bob Saget when it's about him, needing to rut, but the daughters have none of it. Like, Brie Larson could do, like, if there's some episode of this show where Brie Larson fucking like tears up the kitchen or something, they should use it as like footage for some movie about her getting over the trauma of, like, you could, like, it could be a bit how little this kid is affected, like,
Yeah.
by not having a mom. And Kat Dennings doesn't seem to need one either, and a mom would be a real fucking buzzkill for her, like,
I think it
existence
depends
too.
on the mom. I think that, like I said, if there was a mom, like if Danny Tanner had a female partner that could help him negotiate raising children, but he's just like going in blazing, not knowing what he's doing and doing the wrong thing. Now, it's not like he's traumatizing the children, right? That's good. But at the same time, there's just nothing. Like, there's no balance. And he only asks for help when he fucks up. Whereas a partner would be there, whoa, checking him as he's making mistakes and being like, we need to talk about this a little bit more. We need to negotiate this a little bit more. There's just that balance just isn't there. I don't know
Yeah.
what it's like to be a single parent, though. What do I know? It's a lot easier when you've got another adult in the household. Is the lesson I'm learning here.
Also, we learned that from The Sims. Anyway, people on always, you age up your person on The Sims so they can be the grandparent who does the childcare because it's impossible otherwise. Stop making that gesture.
Nerd.
Rude. Rude. Okay, so that's it.
That's it for episodes 5 and 6. Next week we'll be listening. We'll be talking about. Excuse me, listening. We'll be talking about episode 7 and 8. Episode 7 is called The Drama Club. I have some questions about that. And episode 8 is called The New Room. I don't have the IMDb pulled up because I Googled something else. But episode 7, it says story by Jonathan Katz, Teleplay by Jonathan Katz and Bill Broaddus. What does that mean, smart guy?
Um, that means that, was it and or ampersand?
It was ampersand.
That means that Jonathan Katz had the idea for the story and that he and Bill Broaddus worked on the final teleplay together.
Cool. We also forgot to mention this week that Fight for Your Right to Party was written by BJ Novak.
Yes, it was. And it's better than I was expecting, but also you can actually see a difference in how, like, the jokes get set up in the humor, the
Mm,
types of humor get set up in that episode versus in this one. Like, outside of Kindler, this one's very tepid.
yeah.
What's the
Um,
homophobia? Is that this episode though? They make fun of Crew Cut for
yeah, they make
thinking
fun of Crew Cut for
seeing Moulin Rouge
seeing Moulin Rouge. Yeah.
and thinking that Ewan McGregor was cute and that he gave a good performance of something in Moulin.
Yeah.
And they're just totally shitty to them about it because you know what?
I mean, they're not totally shitty, but they turn and scowl at him and are like, what the fuck is his problem? I mean, they're not like F-bombing him, right?
No,
But
that's true.
but it's not great. It's not great. And it seems like, I don't know, whatever. It would have been just super easy to be like, okay, cool, and move on, you know? And it's not like you have to turn him into Ricky from My So-Called Life,
There's
but it
also
can
this
just be like
interesting
something that
thing.
goes without comment or judgment.
I've been waiting to see if Meagan Good's going to think any of the white boys are cute. She does not. There are no black boys for her to think are cute either. So she is asexual,
Yeah.
um, which is fine considering
Well,
this
she's
high school
not
story.
asexual because in the sex ed episode, she's in that one, right?
That
And
was,
she's
I'm thinking comeback Meagan Good,
oh,
first
okay.
Olivia Meagan Good.
Okay.
Like, yes, but yes, that's why I was sort of worried she was going to pressure um old girl with Dave Marks. I think some of what's happening with our expectations for this show in terms of plotting are that we're expecting it to, like, I feel like the target audience for this show is actually the 10-year-olds.
Mm.
Like, I don't think the target
Yeah,
audience.
because the way they handle anything like that a 15, 16-year-old would be handling is very easy. There's not a lot of like when she asks to go home, there is no resistance being put up by
No,
that boy. And there would be resistance. There would be fuck you, find your own way home. You know,
at
like
best, at
at best.
best.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can see it.
Well, we
I
talked
mean,
about Saved by the Bell as like the template for what high school shows would become versus, even though that was a fucking Saturday morning
yeah.
um
That was
kids,
I mean, I watched that when I was 10.
a tweenage show almost,
Yeah.
like, and that sort of took over nighttime primetime sitcoms as well, probably coming in through the fourth and fifth networks or fifth and sixth or whatever. But
Because like TGIF was all that stuff. You have to have something that's appealing to the whole family. And so you have to appeal to the lowest common denominator, which in this case is like 10-year-old me. I loved Stephen Urkel, for Christ's sake. I mean, I loved Urkel. And that is like the most hacky character on television, right? Like with catchphrases and stuff. Like, but I loved it. And I loved the family dynamics and I liked Laura. Like, and she was older than I was, the character Laura. So like it appealed to me as the youngest person, but I also had a sister that was a lot older than me. So I looked up a lot. So
most
I was into boy bands when I was like 9 or 10 years old, like New Kids on the Block. My sister was 16. So it was like, why go to the New Kids on the Block concert? But then by the time I was that age, In Sync and Backstreet Boys and stuff, like that had no appeal to me because I had already gone through that when I was 9 or 10. So, but I guess my larger point is like when you're looking at a family sitcom, it does have to be appealing to the
yeah,
entire family.
yeah, good point. Which is what you would see with other sitcoms that introduced young age children as the regular cast aged up and things like
Yeah.
that to maintain
Yeah.
interest.
Cousin Oliver. Yeah.
Cousin Oliver, Leonardo DiCaprio, so on. There's some other obvious examples that we're skipping because we've already mentioned it and we're not going, we don't have time for that. Okay, so yeah, next time, we'll be back. We've got another 18 episodes, so
Something like
3
that.
more episodes of the season, then whatever Emily does in between. But pretty soon we'll be watching Miss Marvel, folks. Don't
Can't wait. Andrew, thank you for watching. Folks, thank you for listening. Andrew, I'll see you in television land.
see you in television land, Emily.